the opportunity this past spring to listen to him speak to the students at East Bridgewater High School. His name is Rich Barnes. Rich has led, as you'll hear, kind of a very tough life. If you could probably look at what happened to him when he started using, probably at a very young age, as I'll explain to you, and where it took him in life and where he is now. I am not going to say too much more. I'm going to let him tell his entire story. One thing that I would ask out of you, and near the very end of the presentation, is to really formulate some questions for Rich, because you are not far away from making some of these decisions. And I will tell you that some of the drugs that are out there right now, alcohol, heroin, cocaine, we're seeing people dying at a very, very young age. I've lost 2 former students in the past 6 months to a heroin addiction. One was 25 years old, another one was 30 years old. So this is where it can take you. Pay close attention. Please give him a round of applause. This is Rich Barnes.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning. My name is Rich Barnes. I'm very excited to be here. This is your first day at camp? Good. I hope you guys enjoy it. How long is it? How long is the camp? Say again? Awesome. Well, I hope you guys have fun and learn a lot. I'm from Bridgewater, Mass. I speak at schools regarding drugs and alcohol. I am a recovering drug addict, and I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm almost 8 years clean, thank God. And what I want to do today is just tell you a little bit about my story of where I started and the progression of my addictions and my alcoholism up until I was 36 years old. 38 years old. I'm 46 right now. And I love doing what I do. I love coming to schools. I love telling you my story. And I hope today, there's 100-something of you guys, I hope I just get through to one of you. Just one. Anything more will be a bonus for me, because I want my story my story is real, and it can happen to anyone. You know, a lot of kids, a lot of people today think it will never happen to them. And I thought the same exact thing when I was at my school, when someone came into my school and started telling me their story. I thought it would never happen to me, but it did. What I'd like you to do, well, let me ask you this question. Does anybody know the definition of addiction, or what addiction is about? Go ahead.
You can't stop when you do it. If you get smoking, you gotta stop when you do it. Keep doing it.
Yep. It's basically being enslaved to something. It's a strong obsession to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And addiction is a very progressive disease, and it is a disease that's deemed by the American Medical Association. So what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, is I want to talk to you today again about my life. And again, I hope one of you I just changed the course of one of your lives. So what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, just take your hands for me and play along. Just go like this and cup your hands for me, if you don't mind. All right? And what I'm going to ask you to do is I want to see what you see inside your hands. What do you guys see inside your hands? Anything? Anything? All right. Sweat, a little dirt here and there, right? Skin. Well, what I see in my life today, and I hope what you see in your hands today, is your life. Because your life is truly in your hands today. And when I was your age, actually younger, and I'm going to tell you about my story, is when I had my life in my hands, I didn't have it. I threw it away. I took my life for 28 years and threw it away to alcohol and drugs. 28 years, double your lifetimes. I threw it away. And I want you to know, when you look inside your hands, and I hope you keep this at heart, when you look inside your hands and see your life, I hope you take your life and plant it in the right environment. You nurture it, you water it, you just take care of it, because you only have one. And I know a lot of people that are a lot younger than me, that are a little bit older than you, that are dead because they didn't take care of it and they used drugs. And that's a fact. 17 years old, 18 years old, dead. Because the disease of addiction got them and they thought they had it under control, and now they're not living anymore. Once you're dead, and I'm not trying to scare you, it's a fact, Once you are dead, you don't come back. It's over. And the wake of your hurt and pain goes to people that surround you, your family, your friends, and all that stuff, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you my story. My story of addiction and alcoholism started when I was a little boy. My mother and father got divorced when I was 7 years old. And at 7 years old, my mother came to me and said, Rich, I want to let you know that me and your daddy are getting divorced. And I never had an idea what divorce meant. I was a 7-year-old boy. And I said, okay. You know, I just agreed to it. And at that time, later in that day, my mother comes to me and she says, Rich, I want you to know, she asked you a question, do you know what divorce is? And I said, no, I have no idea. And I never fathomed the thought, what she was about to tell me was that my father is not going to be living with me anymore. Here I am, and my mother tells me, well, I want to let you know, Daddy's not going to be around anymore. And it broke my heart, 7 years old. Who's going to teach me how to throw a ball? Who's going to show me how to play hockey? Who's going to teach me how to fish? Who's going to show me how to become a man? And all these thoughts went through my mind as a 7-year-old boy, which they shouldn't have been going through my mind, but they did. And at 7 years old, I started to isolate myself, isolate my problems, isolate my emotions, my feelings. Everything I started to isolate to myself and never tell a soul of how I felt. And that's not good. I believe at 7 years old, without taking that first drink at 7 years old, I believe right then I started getting the symptoms of alcoholism. And from 7 to 10 years old, all these feelings went through me, and I kept them all inside. And as funny as this may sound, the only thing that I told my emotions to, the only thing I told how sad I was or when I was crying was a coffee table. It was probably this high and about this long that was in front of a TV right where these people were sitting. And I'd lie under there and cry when everybody else was behind me. And every time I cried, I'd put a date on that table. And I threw away that table probably 15 years ago and had hundreds of dates on it. From 7 to 10 years old, that was my best friend. I could tell that table anything because I cried to it every day. And at 10 years old, the coffee table was pretty much full, and I went downstairs in my basement. I was downstairs in my basement, and we had a big, huge bar, probably the size of these tables right here, full of alcohol. And I've seen my mother drink. I've seen my father drink. I've seen it all, you know. And I decided, you know something? I'm the man of the house now. I'm the man of the house. I have 2 sisters and a mother, and I'm the only boy, which now I'm a man because I'm the boss of the house. So I decided, you know something? I'm going to try this alcohol at 10 years old. 10 years old. My life should have been outside the streets playing kick the can or hide and go seek or the hockey and all the stuff, fishing. But now I'm taking my first step into being a true alcoholic. At 10 years old, I took a bottle of Bacardi, which was my father's favorite drink. There were, I'm going to say, at least 100 bottles underneath that bar of all sorts of alcohol. And I took that bottle of Bacardi at 10 years old. I opened it. I poured it in a glass. I looked at it. I smelt it. It smelled disgusting. But I saw my mother and father drinking. It must be okay. And at 10 years old, I took that warm Bacardi and drank it. And I took a sip of that stuff, and I tell you, it went down like razor blades. It was the most disgusting, and I can still taste it right now. It went down like razor blades, and I wanted to come back up, but I held it back down. I took another sip and another sip, and probably 20 to 30 minutes later, I felt this euphoric feeling, a feeling I've never felt before. I felt tingly and warm. I felt that, you know something, I'm starting to be myself now. When in reality, as a 10-year-old boy, I never in my wildest imagination would think of the devastation that first sip has caused my life. It took me 28 years to put that stuff down. 28 years. Many losses, financially, physically, mentally. I mean, it devastated my life for 28 years. So at 10 years old, right then I became an instant alcoholic because I loved the feeling of alcohol. Loved it. And I drank from 10 to 14 years old all those bottles of alcohol in my house. It soon became my bedtime story where I would bring a bottle up to my room because my mother really didn't know anything. She was very naive. I would take those bottles when I was done with them. I'd pour water because they were mostly clear liquids, vodkas, the gins, the rums, and I'd put them back with water on and put the cap back on and put the tape nice back on the side so I wouldn't see it was ripped. Because I took the bottle and put it over steam to let that glue come off of the side so my mother wouldn't know I ripped them off. Very clever. I'd do anything to get my alcohol. And at 14 years old, I ran out of the alcohol. I ran out. A lot of bottles gone. And I had to ask one of my neighbors, who was probably 21, 22 at the time, who I was kind of friendly with. I was 14 years old. I was a paper boy, which I asked him. I said, Steve, I said, I need a favor from you. He said, what? I said, I need you to buy me alcohol. I need you to buy me some alcohol. I'm out of alcohol. He says, no problem. 21 years old, he's going to buy me some alcohol. So he goes to the package store. This went on for a couple of years, 2, 3 years. And I was the hit of all my friends because I was the only one that can have alcohol. And I'm sure you've heard the cliche, misery loves company. I did not know as a young boy, as a 14-year-old boy, 10 to 14, how miserable my life was. All the things I was missing out on. The playing of the hockey, the fishing, all the good stuff that young kids do. Hanging out just with your friends, wrestling around the yard. I lost all that. And I didn't know anything because I couldn't see it. Alcohol has taken over my life. It was the first thing I thought about every single day was the alcohol. And so he starts buying me the alcohol at 14 years old. And at 16 years old, I got my driver's license. My father was a police officer in my town. And at 16 and a half years old, a week before my 16-and-a-half-year-old birthday, I got my driver's license, got handed a big, huge van. At 16 and a half years old, I got handed a van, naive to life, naive to everything that was going on around me. I had no idea. My life was spiraling down, and I didn't even know it. And my father, again, was a police officer in my hometown of Randolph. I used to live in Randolph, about a half hour, 40 minutes away from here. And at 16 and a half years old, that's where the law started to come in my life, the trouble, the real trouble. Before I was 17 years old, I had my first arrest. I got caught for drinking and driving. They arrested me. They brought me to the police station in cuffs. I'm 17 years old, I'm cuffed. Can you think about that? Think about that happening to someone. 17 years old, a little kid, a young man, cuffed going to a police station because of his drinking. Still not really knowing that I have a problem. Thinking it's everybody else around me that's crazy, not me. It's not the alcohol, it's not my best friend, the alcohol. It's everybody else around me. I could never see the problems that I was causing everybody. My father got me out of trouble. I went to court, I got off the trouble, which even further progressed my ability to drink because now I'm not suffering any consequences. And at 17 years old, this is where my life took another turn. At 17 years old, I'm out with one of my friends, and he says, Rich, you like drinking? I said, you know, I love it. And I drank and drove a lot, all right? And we're parked in front of one of our friend's house, and he takes out this little teeny envelope, and whips out this white powder. And I've never seen anything like this before. And he dumped it on, you guys probably don't know what a cassette tape is. This is back in the 80s. A cassette tape is where you played music. And he dumped it on this white powder on a cassette tape. And he took a razor blade and cut it into these long lines. And I said, Frank, what is that? He says, well, that's cocaine. I said, well, what do you do? I had no idea about it. I had no idea what cocaine was. I've heard of it, didn't know what it was. He says, well, if you like drinking, this will prolong your drinking ability. You'll be able to drink longer, you'll stay up longer, you'll feel invincible. I'm all for it. I rolled up a dollar bill, and at 17 years old, I rolled up a dollar bill in my hand, again, not thinking about the consequences that this is going to cause me. I put the dollar bill in my nose and snorted it up. At 17 years old, I'm already, right now, 7 years an alcoholic, and at 17 years old, I instantaneously became a drug addict. At 17 years old, I'm in high school, I became a drug addict. I'm a junior in high school. Now, cocaine has entered my life. I asked about the definition of addiction. It's being enslaved to a habit. And as this addiction, which again is a disease by the American Medical Association, I've had the disease of addiction in me since I've been born, and now drugs have festered themselves in my life. I'm a cocaine addict at 17 years old, and I'm doing cocaine probably 3 or 4 times a month. I'm doing it before school. I'm doing it before my hockey games. It doesn't matter what I'm doing it. I want my cocaine. I want my alcohol. And this all stems back from the first sip I took at 10 years old. At 10 years old, I took that first sip of Bacardi rum. And this is where my life is at 17 years old. Now, at 17 years old, I have 4 arrests, all in my hometown. And I come to a situation where now I'm not in my hometown. I'm driving down the highway, drunk and high on cocaine. I hit a car at 17 years old. I'm driving down 128 near Braintree. And I hit a car, and I careened my van. I hit the curb, and I careened my van into the woods in the air. My head hits the dashboard. I'm bleeding profusely. And now I'm stuck because my van won't go anywhere. And again, this is all because of that first sip of alcohol I took. I'm in the woods on Route 128, about 30 yards away. I'm sure you've seen the rock on the side of the highway. You know, that boulder's there, the granite or whatever it is. I'm 30 yards away from hitting that. And all of a sudden, the state police come, and I try to run. And they grab me. They instantaneously cuff me. They arrest me. They throw me in the back of the cruiser, and now I'm in some deep trouble. I'm 17 years old. I'm high on cocaine. I'm drunk, and I'm arrested by the state police. My daddy can't help me now. So I get back to the barracks. I'm bleeding profusely. He already took me to the hospital. I refused treatment because I was so drunk. He put me into the jail cell. He pulled me back out to I had to call my mother. I didn't want to call my father. I want to call my mother because my mother usually comes and gets me. And I said, Mom, I need you to talk to someone. I'm arrested by the state police. So I give the state police the phone. And again, I was this little kid, innocent kid who played all the little sports. I was a good kid until I touched that alcohol at 10 years old. Now I'm in the custody of the state police because of my addictions. I never signed up to be an alcoholic. I never signed up to be an addict. I just became one because my curiosity got the best of me. I wanted to try that alcohol. I wanted to try that cocaine. And I didn't make good choices. I made bad decisions and bad choices, which led me, right now, I'm in the state police barracks in Canton. I believe it was Canton. So I gave I gave the state trooper the phone to speak with my mother. And I hear him say, yep, okay, sure, okay. And this is a Friday night. He hangs up the phone. I said, what time is she coming to get me? It's a Friday night. He says, she's not. I'm looking at him puzzled. What do you mean she's not coming to get me? You're here all weekend. I was in that cell. A cell this from there to the end of that green thing and maybe out to here with a bed and a toilet. 17 years old in a cell. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, till Monday morning when I went to court. I would figure that would straighten me up, but it didn't. I went to court Monday. I lost my license for operating under influence. I now have a record on my bad driving record because of my addictions and my alcoholism. And all I could see myself doing now in hindsight was my life was spiraling downhill because of what I did, I took that first drink. I'm not naive to the fact that someone here, kids your age, smoke marijuana. I'm not naive to it. I'm not naive that some of them take pills. I'm not naive to it. I see it every day. I've been clean 8 years, and I talk to a lot of people. I like to say, I wish I guarded my life against that first one. And I can only say now I can guard my life against that next one. If you've already done something, you can't guard yourself against the first one. Guard your lives against the second one, because you don't want to go through what I went through. And 4 days and it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days and nights in a jail cell should have straightened my act up, but it did not. And my life started escalating, going down, spiraling downhill. And when I graduated high school, by the skin of my teeth, I decided not to go to college because the alcohol and the drugs were too important to me. I tried a community college. I failed out. I quit. I just said, forget it. I went to the work field, okay? And I went in the automobile business at 20 years old. At 20 years old, I went to the automobile business, which is treachery for a person like me, because it's instant gratification, it's money. I see all these things, all these selfish, self-centered things that I wanted, that I got, and it further escalated my problem. At 20 years old, I said, forget college. And again, I ended up quitting college, my attempt at college, because again, I have to keep going back to that first sip of alcohol, because this is the course that addiction and alcoholism is. Alcoholism and addiction is a disease that will stroke you like this. It will tell you you're okay. It will tell you, don't worry about that arrest. Don't worry about your friends that you don't talk to anymore. Don't worry about your family being upset. Just keep taking me, keep drinking me, keep snorting my lines. Don't worry about it. Next thing you know, the claws come out and you're stuck. Now you're full-blown an alcoholic and a full-blown addict, and you can't get out. Because like this kid said over here, you basically, you can't stop. You're enslaved to a habit that you don't want to do. And many nights went by as a 20-year-old kid that I cried to myself to sleep, asking myself why I'm doing this to myself. But at 20 years old, I still had another 18 years to go before I really hit rock bottom. I was in my 20s, and I was doing cocaine probably, it went from 3 or 4 times a month to 3 or 4 times a week. And then in my late 20s, it went to every day. I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on cocaine. And at 27 years old, I got introduced to a new drug called crack cocaine. Anybody ever hear of crack cocaine? Anybody ever hear of crack cocaine? No? Crack cocaine is a form of cocaine where it's in a rock. It's like a rock form, and you smoke it. And at 27 years old, the high of crack is instantaneous. You smoke it, and you instantaneously get high, and it lasts about 15 to 20 seconds, and then you need more. It's the worst drug in this planet, I feel, that for me, because it enslaved me more. I wanted more of it. And that's where all this other stuff started to fade away. Cocaine and crack took over my life again, and I couldn't get out. I tried every single day to quit. Every single day I said to myself, I woke up in the morning and I said to myself, as I'm throwing up in the shower or blowing blood out of my nose, again, just because I took that first sip and first line, I'm sitting there saying, I'm not crying, I'm not doing this again today. I am not doing this again today. And then in the afternoon, I cried to myself, by myself, and inside, I can't believe I did this again. Enslaved, addictions, habits, I could not stop. In the year 1995, I met my wife, all right? 1995 or 6, I met my wife. And we dated for 5 years. She had no idea about me, nothing. See, alcoholics and addicts, we hide our diseases very, very well to the point we will cover up anything. We will lie, cheat, and steal our way out of anything for people not to know who we are. And because once we let that out, all of it stops, all right? And she had no idea what I was, who I was. I lied. I manipulated her. We eventually got married in the year 2000. Now, I am a full-blown alcoholic. I'm doing cocaine every single day. I'm smoking crack. My life is insane. Does anybody know the definition of insanity? Someone must know, right? Go ahead. Yeah, Einstein's definition, I feel, is the best. It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. See, I would do cocaine every single day thinking I'd be better than the day before. When in reality, the devastation it created on a daily basis was the same as the night before, but even worse because I was doing more of it. And in 2000, I got married, and again, she knew nothing about me. I was sneaking my drugs. I was bringing them into my home. I bought a home in 2000. My life was supposed to start in the year 2000. And every day, I shouldn't say every day, but months went by where I would say, okay, I'm going to quit this day, and it went past. I'm going to quit this day, and it went past. My life was insane, and I was doing the same thing over and expecting different results. My life was totally a mess. And again, I have to go back to when I was 10 years old because it all started back then. And in 2000, we were married in 2001, she saw my phone bill, my cell phone bill. And the cell phones back in 2001 were very, very expensive. And my cell phone bill was $350 for a month. And she says, Rich, who the heck are you calling? And I was high at the time. I said, don't worry about it. Give me the bill. Because I didn't want her to see the phone numbers I was calling. So she goes, you know something? I will find out who you're calling. I'll go on the computer and find out. So she went on the computer and sat there. And she says, Rich, who's this number you're calling at 12 o'clock? 12:02, 12:07, 1209, 1220, the same exact number. What are you doing? I made up some lie. You know, I was in the car business. I said he's a wholesaler. I could have called him to check on the value of cars, which is a big lie. And she says, Rich, but it's every single day, the same exact time. Who are you calling? He's not a wholesaler. Now she's on to me. So the good addict and the good alcoholic, I have to make up something that she'll get off my back. So I say, you know something? I said, listen, I want to tell you the truth. I'm an alcoholic, and I'm trying to quit drinking, and he's my sponsor. So she says, well, why wouldn't you tell me? I said, I didn't want to tell you. She says, well, I'll help you. I said, okay. So now in 2001, the alcohol started to become less of a problem because cocaine has taken over my life and crack has taken over my life. That the only time I would drink my alcohol was at the end of my cocaine. But you see, cocaine is a stimulant where you get high. Alcohol is a depressant where you come down. So you see how I'm messing with the chemicals in my body? I want to get high, but I want to come down. So what I do is at the end of my cocaine, when it's all gone, the crack's all gone, I'll suck down straight vodka to come down because I don't want to crash. Crashing means basically when you get that high and you have nothing to bring you down, you crash slowly and you start going crazy. And that's what I didn't want to feel. So I would suck down straight vodka. I'd take pills, Benadryls, NyQuil. I was a sick man. Whatever I can do to allow me to come down faster from that crash, I would do. So that night we threw away all the alcohol in the house, threw away everything, and she says, I'm going to ask you one question, Rich. I said, what? She goes, I want to know right now, are you doing drugs? The good manipulator, the fantastic liar I was, I looked her in the face and said, you know something? I can't believe you're asking me that. I just told you I'm an alcoholic and you're asking me this? Manipulator. Cocaine and crack were my love of my life. More important than my house, more important than her, more important than my life. And I'm lying right to her face. She says, Rich, I'm sorry. I said, no problem. The next day, it was my day off, and she, God bless you, she calls me up and she says, are you okay today? I said, yeah. Next thing I know, 3 hours later, she's walking through the door. 2001, she's walking through the door. I said, what's going on? Why are you home? She says, you don't sound good on the phone. You sound like you're gonna drink. And at 2001, I said to myself, this is it. This is my break. I need to tell her the truth of who I am, who I've become, who I have been for all these years, 22 years. I've been a liar, a manipulator, a thief, everything because of alcohol and drugs. So I sat her down, I started crying my eyes out. I said, listen, I gotta tell you the truth. I'm crying, and I don't cry. I couldn't cry back then because I was a strong, tough guy on the outside. I sat her down and started crying. I said, listen, it's not alcohol, it's drugs. I'm doing drugs every single day, and I don't want to do them anymore. I need to stop. And she looked me right in the eye and says, you know something? I'll help you. I will help you. I said, okay. She says, but I'm going to tell you one thing. I catch you drinking, I catch you drugging, you're doing anything in this house, you're out. I said, no problem, no problem. 1 day clean, 2 days clean, 3 days clean, 7 days clean, no alcohol, no cocaine, 14 days clean. I owe it to myself to have a drink because I've been clean for that long. I owe it to myself. Addictive thinking, sick thinking. I have that drink, I have 2 drinks. I get the cocaine, I do cocaine 1 day, I skip a few days, I do another day. Don't you know it? 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks later, I'm doing cocaine and drinking every single day again. I was back to being enslaved to that habit. I didn't follow the guidelines of how to quit. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. My life is now, for those 14 days that I quit for, were probably 14 of the best days of my life because I was starting to become who I needed to become. And alcoholism and addiction took over again. And 14 days, when I started doing that again, I was back to every single day. And I had to become a better hider of my addictions. In 2004, my wife got pregnant. My wife got pregnant. I'm high as a kite. I'm drunk and high through the whole pregnancy. I missed out on it. I missed listening to the heartbeat. I missed getting the room ready. I missed all that stuff because I was out getting high. It had such a power over me. My little daughter, the best thing in the world to a parent is seeing their child or being a part of their child being born. That's the best part of their lives, and I missed it. And in 2004, my baby came. I was out one night. I was high, getting high, smoking crack with my friends. She's home. I get home. It's sort of 12 o'clock at night, and I'm up, and now I'm sweating. I'm shaking. I'm coming down from this high. I have no alcohol in the house. I'm going crazy. I'm going insane. And I'm lying down, and all of a sudden she says to me, she goes, "Rich, my water broke." I'm like, no, please, don't let this happen. My beautiful new baby's coming into this world. And alcohol and drugs have such a hold on me, I don't want her coming because it's gonna wreck my night. And I say, please, no, you just please go back to sleep. This isn't happening. She says, yes, it is. Now I have to go to the hospital. It's probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm still high, I'm coming down, I'm crashing. I'm up for the next 27 hours because she's in labor for my baby. And I am pissed. I'm furious. Imagine the stronghold that drugs and alcohol has over me at this specific moment in my life. And my baby's coming. And it all started when I was a young kid. My baby comes, I'm holding her. It's probably, I think it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm holding her. And all I can think about is calling my guy to get more cocaine. I hand her back the baby. I call him. He meets me right down the road. I come back. Now I'm holding my baby high. High again. No sleep for probably 36, 37 hours straight from the day before till now. Holding my brand new precious baby high. I had no control over my life. I'm a full-blown addict now because of my bad choices and my bad decisions. Time goes on. And my baby's home, paranoid starts settling in. I'm feeding my baby at 2 o'clock in the morning. I got a butcher knife by my side. This is how sick I got because I'm paranoid that people were in my house. And I'll fast forward a little bit to this episode. It was November 4th, 2006, almost 8 years ago. My daughter's now 2.5 years old. I have no idea who she is, because I don't know her. I was not part of her life. I was there always physically for her, but I was never there mentally or emotionally or spiritually for her. Never in 2.5 years. I would put her down in front of the TV and I would sleep because I needed to get my sleep. On November 4th, 2006, I went out all night, and I'm high. I get home. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. I grab the knife, the butcher knife. I slept with it all the time because I was paranoid. My house is alarmed. You come near my house, the alarm's going to go off, the police are going to be there in 5 minutes. But I think people are in my house ready to kill me because the paranoids of all these years of drug abuse are now in me. And I slept with a knife. So I have the knife in my hand. And I say to myself, you know something? I need to stop this. I'm ready. And the thought of suicide comes in my brain at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. November 4th, 2006. I am ready to kill myself. This little kid playing street hockey in the street. This little kid playing hide and go seek with his friends. This little kid who wanted to live a life. Lost it all at 10 years old when he started drinking. He lost it all at 17 years old when he started doing drugs. At 38 years old, November 4th, 2006, I am ready to kill myself because I don't have anything. I'm depleted of everything. Everything inside. I look the part. You would look at me. I have a $3,000 suit. I have all the ties. I have everything outside. But alcohol and drugs have depleted me of everything in my life. Everything anybody ever wanted to be a real good human being was gone in my life. I'm ready to leave my 2.5-year-old daughter daddyless. I'm ready. And I'm contemplating it. I'm ready to leave my wife a widow. I'm ready. I put the knife on my wrist. I still have a scar there. I pushed it down so hard. I never did it, but it started bleeding. And I sat down and I prayed to a power greater than myself for the first time in my life. I said, please take me away from this world. Take care of my daughter. Take care of her. Make sure when she gets older that she knows how sick her daddy was. Please. And take care of my wife. Make sure she's comfortable. Make sure she finds someone that's good because I am a bad person. I'm praying this prayer. Or please help me. Please help me. The first time in 28 years I ever said the words, please help me, to anything. November 4th, 2006. That's the night. I have not had a drink or drug since that day. I woke up in the morning. I didn't know what was going on. The knife is down by my side. I feel great. I find a meeting, an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting down the street. Never been to one. Never been to one. It was an AA meeting of 200 and something people, and I'm in there. People ran over to me because they could see the newcomer right away. They could spot the newcomer walking in the door. And they come over, they say, hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. I said, thank you so much. I sat down, and the person who's cheering is up here, and I'm looking at him, and they say, anybody new or coming back? I raised my hand. I said, I'm new. My name is Rich Barnes, and I need help. Those three words, if you look them up in the dictionary by themselves, they mean nothing. You put them together, they mean the world. Because when you say, I need help, people will help you, no matter what it is. I lost everything due to drugs and alcohol, and I almost lost my life. Now, my wife still thinks I'm sober since 2001. 5 years have gone by that I've hit it enough. I've lied through the whole thing. She gets pregnant in 2000, and she's, my daughter's what? 2006, she gets pregnant. My daughter Avery. My daughter Emma's already 2.5 years old. My daughter Avery's, she's pregnant. I'm sober. I'm clean. My daughter comes on July 16, 2008. It was the best experience of my life because I am now a year and a half clean, a year and a half sober, no drugs, no alcohol. I can welcome my daughter into this world. And I believe in the heart of hearts, that someone, an entity, has given me this new daughter to realize what I missed with the first one and to become grateful for what I have. You know, I heard of a story where this guy wanted to get sober, and you can use this in your lives too. This guy wanted to get sober, and he asked a guy to help him. You may have heard the story. He says, well, why don't you come down the beach in the morning, I'll show you how to get sober. And the guy looks at him and says, why would I want to get down to a beach to get sober? He says, listen, I've been sober 35 years. Do you want to get sober or not? He says, yeah. So he goes down the beach in the morning, and the guy who's been sober 35 years backs up in the water and says, come on the water. The guy says, well, I don't want to go swimming. I want to learn how to get sober. He says, well, you follow me. He brings in the water. The guy's up to his waist now. He says, what am I doing here? I want to get clean. I want to get sober. The guy says, come out a little bit further. Now the guy's up to his neck. The guy who's been sober 35 years grabs his head and puts it underwater. The guy who's underwater now, who's trying to get sober, is fighting for his life under that water. His arms are flailing, he's kicking, and then he pulls his head up before he passes out. He says, what'd you do that for? He says, because I want you to know that it's going to take the ability to breathe. You need to want to get clean and sober as bad as you want to breathe that air when you're under that water. And I remember that story vividly. I want to stay sober one day at a time, and I want to stay clean as bad as I want to breathe the air. Because I know if I get drunk or high again, this time I won't come back and I won't be breathing the air. There's no question. My daughters are now 10 years old, and the other one just turned 6. I've been clean for almost 8 years. I'm going to tell you guys are going into 8th grade next year. 8th grade. The rules of the school, right? I thought the same thing. You're going to be the top of the school. Then you're going to go into high school, and I'm going to tell you something. Peer pressure is going to come at you from all different angles. It's going to come at you from people like me, because misery loves company, and I was one miserable son of a gun. I wanted to bring all these people into my web of lies, web of deceit, web of drug addiction, web of alcoholism. The cool thing to say is I'm all set. No, thank you. When someone asks you to try this pill or smoke that weed or drink this drink or snort that line or smoke this, whatever it takes, the better thing for you to do is say no. I'm all set. And if you're nervous to say no, I learned this from a DARE officer in Bridgewater, all you need to say is, you know something, I would love to, but my parents drug test me, and then they're going to back off. Don't get peer pressured by people. Be stronger than the people like me who will peer pressure you, because there will be people who will peer pressure you. There's no question. It doesn't matter who you are. You will be peer pressured to the fact that someone's going to ask you to do something you don't want to do. Don't give in. I can honestly say I lost 28 years of my life because I took that first drink. I was an alcoholic for 28 years, and I'm a drug addict for 21, excuse me, because someone offered me cocaine, and I said yes. I didn't have the ability or the strength to say, no, I'm all set, because that was gone. I can honestly say today, being clean and sober for almost 8 years, life for me today is second to none. I feel like I could sit in that crowd and blend in with you guys. I could do anything you could do. I'm 46 years old. I have the mentality of a 15-year-old kid. I want to live out my life every single day. I put the past behind me and just lead a normal life. Do I have everything I want in life? No, I don't. Am I grateful for everything I have in life? Yes, I am. I am. So I look at my life today. I go into Boston once in a while, and I feed, there's like 5 or 6 of us. And Risa, she helped me too. We went into a homeless shelter in Brockton to feed the homeless. And the reason why we do it is to feed them and make them feel good, but it's also to make us feel good too, because I know in an instant that I can lose everything. I can become homeless. I can lose my car, my clothes, my home, everything. I can lose everything if I go back to drinking and drugging. I can lose it all. And I don't want to do that today. I choose not to drink, and I have a daily reprieve. And I do this stuff to make me feel good, to further distance myself from that cocaine, that crack, that alcohol. And today I feel that you guys allowed me to take a step further in the right direction, where I can say, you know something? I helped myself today, and all I can say is I hope I helped one of you today get a better understanding of what alcohol and drugs can do. And remember, I sat there, I sat in my auditorium, I did everything that I'm supposed to do. I listened to the nurses, I listened to guidance counselors, I did everything I was supposed to do. I never knew in a million years I was going to become an alcoholic or an addict. I just became one. I don't wish it on my worst of enemies. So I hope you guys enjoy this week, this 5 days. I hope you'll learn a lot. I hope you'll learn a lot here from me today. I hope you'll learn a lot from the next speaker. I wish you guys nothing but the best that life has to offer. And I beg you, please, if you've tried the first one, let it go and guard yourselves in your lives against that second one, and keep your lives in your hands. You have your lives in your hands today. Don't go like this. Keep them, nurture them, put them in the right environment. What I mean by that is keep them with good friends that you could trust. Tell your parents everything. You have guidance counselors. You have so many people that will help you through any problem that you have, no matter what. Grades, your academics, your sports, whatever you need help with. 3 big words that take a lot of humility. I need help. Please help me. It's okay to ask for help. Don't make the bad choices and the bad decisions I have made. And please, don't go down the same road I went down. What I want to see is, I just want to have some questions. If you guys have any questions, please, just ask them. Thank you. Okay, who's going to be the first brave one? Come on. Come on. I know someone wants to ask a question. You guys will open the whole door. One person first. No?
What's it been like for you in the past since you've been sober?
I'll tell you, Steve, it's unexplainable, because my life was so abnormal before. I'm still getting a new taste of this life. You know, my life is still young. I believe I was born on November 4th, 2006, because the first 28 years of my life, I was not in control of my life. I can actually say it's been the best 8 years of my personal life. You know, seeing my kids grow, watching them grow, being part of their lives, being a daddy, you know, going to work, helping people, living a life. And, you know, I've also learned a lot. I've learned that, you know something, life isn't about the $3,000 suits. It's not about the shoes. It's not about the homes, the cars. It's not about anything else, but it's about what's inside. And I've learned that today. I've learned that, you know something, whatever's inside, the gratitude, the kindness, the benevolence, Everything is inside. We have that I have that toolbox now that I can actually open it and look inside and figure out any problem that I have. And if I don't, I have the humility today, which I didn't have for 28 years, to say, you know something? Can you please help me? I have that. So, you know, I can drive down the street today and be happy. I can go to sleep and be happy. I can wake up in the morning and be happy and also be thankful. You know, I thank God every single day when I go to bed. Thanks for a great day, and I ask Him for help in the morning. That's my story. I love being alive. I love being alive, and I hated myself to the point of almost suicide back then, and that's how desperate I was and how sad of a human being I was. You know. Go ahead.
How hard was it, and how long did it take you to gain back the respect and the loyalty from your parents?
From my parents? Well, good question. When I told my mom, I remember it, I was driving down Route 24 going to work, and I told her, and she didn't have too many kind words to say to me, you know. But, you know, I have to realize, you know, that's her anger. It's not mine. I can listen to her anger, but I don't have to become angry because of her anger. My father, I've had periods with him where I've told him a couple things here and there. But, you know, I think now, I mean, it's almost been 8 years. I think they respect me now. Maybe 5 years. I mean, I did a lot of damage. A lot, you know. I mean, I lied to people's faces. I said I was there when I was over there. I said I'll do this. You know, my mother, I remember it probably 2 years ago, my mother needed help, and she didn't get it. I said, well, Ma, you didn't ask me. She says, well, Richie, I want to let you know I asked you to move boxes once and you couldn't help me. I said, when? She was about 13 years ago. I'm like, you've been holding on to that for 13 years? You got to let that stuff go, Mom. You know, if you want help, then you ask me first and I'll be there. The responsibility is there now. The respect is there. I won't take that responsibility or respect and abuse it. I just want to be there for people when they need help. But it took me probably 5 years to get that back. I'm going to say from my mother, 6 years maybe. You know, I don't think it's all there yet. But again, I used to let the thoughts and opinions of other people kill me. Now, people can say whatever they want about me. I don't mind. I mean, they could take the bad and say whatever they want about my past and all that stuff. I have to let that stuff go. Because I know for a person like me, a recovering alcoholic and a drug addict, if I allow people's negativity to get in me, even though it's this small, it'll become this big. It'll take up and consume my whole day.
Like, when you went to take your first sip of alcohol, were you, like, trying to be more like your dad, or were you, like, trying to get rid of the sadness?
I didn't hear the last part, I'm sorry.
Were you trying to be more like your dad, or were you trying to, like, get rid of your sadness?
I think it was more curiosity. But when that feeling of euphoria came on me, you know, about 20 minutes or half an hour, I felt like I can be a happy kid again. Because it gave me a false sense of happiness, you know. I don't think I was trying to be like my dad. I think it was a false security. It was like a little security blanket I wanted to pull over myself and hide. And I believe that enabled me to do it, which again, all I did is bury my problems even deeper. When I drank the alcohol, it just pushed down my problems and masked them to the point where, you know something, they're still there. I'm not getting rid of anything, you know. I had to get rid of that. And I believe the alcohol, when I first started drinking it, when I felt that feeling of euphoria, it made me feel like, you know something, this is pretty good. When in reality, it's a monster. It truly is a monster, just pushing and suppressing all the emotions that I should have got out when I was a little boy. If at 10, 11, 12 years old, if I ever told my mother or father, listen, I need help, I'm drinking a lot, or told someone, I wouldn't have lost all these years. I would have got the help. But it's a good question. I believe I want to suppress everything and isolate, and alcohol is the best helper for that. If you want to live a life of depression, if you want to live a life of sadness, despair, become an alcoholic. You know, that's what I did, and I suppressed everything. You know, it was very sad. I led a very sad life because of that first drink at 10 years old.
Did you ever tell your wife about the 5 years you were drinking?
I did. I ended up telling her, before my second child was born, I sat her down. I said, listen, I want to tell you the truth about something. She says, what? I said, well, I need you to sit down. I said, okay. So I said, listen, I want you to know that I have not been sober for the whole time you thought I've been sober. I had to get rid of that because that was a lie I was holding on to. So I told her, and we didn't talk for probably 2-3 months, you know. But I did tell her, you know. Getting sober was the best part of my life. And, you know, I still think she holds a grudge against me for doing what I did. And again, God bless you, I can't help that, you know. But I did tell her. It was, you know, I had to get that humility and say, I got to tell the truth. Telling the truth about something bad we did is very hard to do. That's why we have to get that 2 seconds of courage. It only takes 2 seconds to start talking. You know what I mean? And once you start talking, you can't take those words back. All you can do is keep going through the pain. And I had to release that pain in order to move on with my life. Great question. Go ahead, yeah.
Did your mother find out you put water in alcohol?
No, my father did. They were still down on my bar. But my mother moved out of the house. My father moved back in. It was part of the divorce settlement. My father doesn't drink. So when he was cleaning out those bottles, he was throwing them all away. And he looked at them and noticed, and he took a sip of one. It was all water. So he asked me. He said, what you know, I had to tell him the truth. This is probably, I'm going to say, it wasn't a long time. I'm going to say probably 6 years ago, you know. Go ahead.
How did you become a speaker since you became sober?
How did I become a speaker? It's a great question, because I was terrified. I used to work at a car dealership, and we had an annual meeting in front of 10 people. And I always cowered out. I always said, listen, Jerry, I can't talk in front of these people. I can't do it. And now I can speak in front of 1,000. How did I become that speaker? I felt it was in me to become that speaker. I felt it was a message I had to get out to kids like you guys. I believe it is part of the course of my life, the path in which I had to travel. I believe, and I wholeheartedly believe I had to go through what I had to go through in order to become who I am today and be in front of you. I just think, you know, I always wanted to do it, but when I became sober, you know, and I started speaking in meetings with, you know, 50 people, 100 people raising my hand for 5 minutes, and then I just said, you know something, I want to get my message out there. You know, I believe, again, I don't preach God or anything like that, so I don't want to talk about him, but I believe a power greater than myself enabled me to get in front of people, overcome that courage. Life is about overcoming things. You know, fear is a wall. Fear is a wall that holds us back from the other side, the other beautiful side. And if I didn't conquer that wall, 3-4 years ago, I wouldn't be here. You know, I had to break down that wall of fear so I could do what I needed to do. So how did I become it? I just think I fell into it. I overcame that fear of being scared to do it.
One more question I have. What's the biggest advice you can give them? They're approaching 8th grade, getting ready to go into high school. What's the biggest piece of advice you can give these guys going forward?
The biggest piece of advice I can give anyone is guard your lives. You don't have to listen to peer pressure. You know, like I said, don't try it. It's okay not to try it. The people that ask you to try it are going to end up like me. Alcoholics and drug addicts for many years. I wish to God I said no when that cocaine was introduced to me. I wish my curiosity could get the best of me. The best advice I can give you, again, is when you have something that's taxing you, a drug or an alcohol, someone's pushing, just remember, you have a choice. It's not him or her that's pushing the drugs on you. You make the choice to say yes or no. You say, yes, I want to try it, or no, I don't want to try it. You have your lives in your hands. Make sure you realize that. It is the choices and decisions that we make as people that will define the root of our lives. Remember that. It's the choices that we make that will define the roots of the paths of our lives. And that's the truth. No one forced that alcohol down my throat, and no one forced a straw up my nose, and no one made me light that crack pipe. I did it all. It's my fault, no one else's. So I hope you make the right decisions. The best piece of advice I can give you, make the right decision. You know what the right decision is. The right decision is, number one, you're too young to drink alcohol. It's against the law. Number two, drugs are illegal. Marijuana is not legal. It's decriminalized. You can't go smoke a joint and walk down the street. It's illegal, and it's also called a gateway drug. It will lead you into other things. That's a fact. The biggest misconception I hear out there is weed is not a drug. It's legal. No, it's not. No, it's not. Go smoke a joint in front of a police station, see what happens. You know? But that would be my advice. Just again, this might sound funny to you, putting your palm, but when you have someone that's peer pressuring you, just think about your palms in your hands, and you have your lives in your hands, not them.